Episode 30, DROD and Shaniac Sports Podcast. If you were with us the last couple of weeks, we've been keeping you updated on football, basketball. This week, we're actually keeping you up on baseball. And while, if you haven't been following, there may not seem to be a lot of news because it seems like it's the off season or whatnot, you're actually missing probably one of the worst things baseball's been going through since like the late 90s lockout. Because
it's
another
2020
lockout.
Was pretty bad. 2020 was pretty bad.
Oh God, COVID baseball. Aside from COVID baseball, the last major lockout, I think in '97, had fans panicking. 94, yeah. Had fans panicking, wondering if there was even going to be a season. We are literally at that point right now.
Oh yeah,
and there's still a lot of optimism. I mean, like most of the fans, I think, still believe like, all right, I think the players might not get what they want because the owners are just not backing off on their position. So we'll get a shortened season at this point, but we're going to have a baseball season this year regardless. And personally, I follow with that optimism. I do think we'll have a baseball season this year. I do think, though, this whole lockout has, I mean, we talked about this before. It's been a mess. I think that we're getting absolutely shafted by the owners, by 100%. The organization. 100%. When I say we, I mean we as fans, but in the same sense, it's we as fans, and then the players are included in that pool as well. Everyone's getting shafted by the owners and the organization as a whole.
We talked about worse than that. Even worse than that, what happens to all the people that make their living working at the concession stands in the stadiums?
They're not even millionaires. They're not even the major millionaires that baseball brings in, but they're literally just everyday workers. They make
less than the minor leaguers half the time.
Oh yeah,
because they only work there 6 months out of the year.
No, yeah, it's part-time. It's basically minimum wage, depending on what state you're in or whatever.
And God forbid they have
hardly benefits.
A 10-game West Coast road trip. You have a random 2-week stretch where you don't work.
I know. And now if you look at it, you're not working at all. You have no access to your job. You have no access to facilities, even nothing. If you work in Yankee Stadium or in Citi Field right now, and you're probably just sitting at home trying to figure out, am I going to work this year? Because, I mean, even with the games lost so far in the first 2 weeks, you have to even wonder, baseball is going to have to make up for that, to make up for the losses there. And that might even come out of, unfortunately, those people's paychecks. Like, it's already coming out of the MLB players' paychecks. They're not getting any pay at all. And to make up for all of that, there's nothing. There's been no backup plan. There's been no conversation on what's going to happen for these first 2 weeks of baseball. That's the end of March, basically, up till like, April 7th or 8th. I mean, I was watching MLB Network today. Like, I think where we see the negotiations right now is that the owners themselves have set what they call their best offer is on the table. Correct. And it's a load of garbage. It's such garbage. It's such garbage in the same sense that, like, I'm not going to move from my position because I think I'm right here. I think you guys don't deserve anything more than what we've just agreed upon, which we talk about what they've agreed upon. Universal DH, a 12-team playoff expansion, which was going to be 14. That's half the league.
That's impossible.
It's already ridiculous.
I would have been sick if they said 14 teams. Like, you might as well not even play the regular season. Just flip a coin. I mean,
what is there still like a 1-seed bye? Like, how does that even work? Even with 7 teams on both sides, like,
I mean, think it's top 2 seeds get a bye, and then you have a 1-game plan for the bottom 2, and then the next 4 teams play each other to go to. I'm like, there's too much going on, bro.
That's so much more complicated than what we already have structured in right now. Which right now the playoff situation is perfect. I think the right amount of teams make it. They're asking, we want more opportunities for Cinderella teams. There's more than enough Cinderella teams in baseball every time.
I agree with you. There's more than enough.
The
only thing I wish is that the wild card game was a wild card series. Even if it's like, home team only has to win 1, road team has to win 2, that's fine with me. I would rather
best
do
2 out
that.
of 3, something like that.
I don't even think best 2 out of 3 is really necessary. Like, just win,
it would be the same as what you're saying, though. Like, because road team has to win 2 or something like that, or 1.
Because with the 14, I was looking this up. With the 14 team, the 17 playoff teams, it was like this year would have been perfect because you would have had the Blue Jays and the Mariners both make the playoffs when they deserved it, because
both
the Blue Jays
teams
were 1 game behind the Yankees and the Mariners were 1 game behind the Blue Jays. So like it works. They deserved it. But
on paper,
if you look in the National League, you would have had the Dodgers. The Dodgers made it. You would have had who was it?
I mean, the Giants were right behind. No, the Giants were.
No, the Giants won the division. But you would have had like, who was the next team? I think it was the Phillies were the next team at like 82 wins. And then you had the next team after that
near
was
500
like
teams.
The Reds, who were like 3 games behind them. And it's like, you can't look me in the face and tell me that you would have had the 105, 106 win Dodger playing the 82 win Phillies. Talking about, that's the next team you got to play to make the no. You don't deserve to be here.
A playoff expansion is not necessary because we already have enough Cinderella teams. You don't need a college basketball scenario, 64 teams, and half of them are Cinderellas. You do not need that.
That only works if it's going to be single game elimination. That can work, but we're not doing that for MLB because
that would be horrible.
That would be horrible. Baseball's too fickle. It's not like football where if you play
1 game determines
you have a chance.
That's the 2 ends of the spectrum right there. Is that baseball? Anything can happen at any second, any moment of the game. Football, a lot more direct. A lot more can happen on drives, more on quarters and series. It doesn't have to just be, okay, in this game we can analyze what happened and come back and say what's wrong, because they're doing that all the time in football. They're doing that on every single play. They're switching up their offensive style, and you can make changes whenever in football. That's part of the game. In baseball, it's a lot more like structured, and lineups don't change as much. Pitching staffs don't change that much.
Exactly.
Everything stays structured.
This. You have, who was it? Luis Severino. In 2017 wildcard game, gave up 3 runs in the first inning. 98% of the games, the Yankees lost. They would have lost on that. That's it. Maybe not the Yankees, but every team. You give up 3 runs in the first inning, that's it. If you give up a touchdown in the first 10 seconds of the game, you get the ball.
Yeah.
You get the ball right away. Severino,
you get opportunities.
He gave them 3 runs, got taken out the game. The inning
whole
could have kept going. The inning could have kept going. It could have kept going the whole time. And now you're out of luck because you're like, okay, he gave up 3 runs, and the next guy came and gave up another 4. The inning doesn't end until you get the 3 outs. It's not like football. You score a touchdown, it's the other team's ball. Go for it. What you got to do. That's what I'm saying. You can't do that for baseball.
I think the other overlying thing for football is that it's a major contact sport. Like, you get hit on every single play. You couldn't have a series where you have guys getting hit every other day playing football. And then, if you do football based on the schedule every other week, why would you have a best 2 out of 3, best 5 out of 7, God forbid, every week? 2 months worth of football, God forbid.
Just to get the one round.
Oh God.
My God.
And then the last major agreement that the 2 sides agreed upon, eliminate draft pick compensation, which I think the Players Association was really fighting for. It has to do more with like service time and the ability for players to come in.
Only thing I will say is Aaron Judge was a compensation pick. So now I'm kind of sad. Like Nick Swisher, when I think he signed with the White Sox or something like that, we got the 29th or 28th overall pick that year.
That was
because of
Judge.
that. And that
That's
ended
crazy.
up being Aaron Judge. So it's like, I'm kind of sad. Even though we don't really have good players like that are going to be free agents, maybe Joey Gallo at the end of this year. Nobody else. But Joey Gallo would have gotten us a compensation pick.
Yeah. I mean, did we have to give up any to trade for him anyway to Texas?
You know, we didn't give up anything at all this year. The only players
we gave up minor leaguers.
was Luis Cessa. Yeah, but minor leaguers that would have never made the big league squad. We gave up Cessa and Justin Wilson to the Reds for
space.
Let me tell you who we got. Who did we get in that trade?
Oh,
we got money.
I think it ended up being money. Yeah, money and international money and space. Literally just roster spots.
The Yankees were, I don't know how Brian Cashman does it, but this year he was on a different level. We got Joey and Joey Gallo for nothing. We got
we gave up Talkman. Mike Talkman.
No, Talkman was for Wandy.
Wandy
Peralta. But
Peralta,
guess who won that trade? We did, because Mike Talkman ended up getting DFA'd by the Giants like a month later.
Is that what happened? Yeah. I saw him make the catch in center field
against Pujols, and then he got DFA'd like a week after that because he couldn't hit. He was hitting like under 100. So we won that trade because Wandy was like our 8th inning guy in the somehow.
Yeah,
and then we gave up Luis Cessa, who I will say was nasty on the Reds. Absolutely nasty on the Reds once he got traded there.
And he was good this year for us. I remember.
Yeah, he was decent. He wasn't amazing, but he was good. Yeah.
Yeah, but I remember all like all the distraught fans and stuff like that at that time during the major disagreements. I mean, this is literally the 3 things that are holding up the entirety of the lockout. Pre-arb money, which is essentially a brand new aspect. Owners or basically teams don't give any money to young players who are under the arbitration gap.
Mm-hmm.
They have to bid on all of that, and once they find a proper set amount for just one season, they say, okay, this is the league average. If you are a little better than average, you'll make a little more than that. If you are worse, you make less than that. But it's all based on that scale. This allows them now to throw more money than just what's, set on that average. You can say, okay, this is a young guy who has a little more, who gave this team a little more than, what we expected out of him. We can throw him a little more money, possibly a larger contract. This was not involved in baseball at any point in time prior to this, but this is something new that the players want, I think. It's part of the players sticking up for the players. It's that they want their young guys to be able to get what they're worth early on and not have to fight extra hard when they're 26, 27, 28, 29, 30 years old, saying, hey, I gave this team 5 years of my life, basically, and I need to be making the money I'm worth. And the team either laughing him off and signing elsewhere or saying, we'll deal with you whatever we can. The other aspect is the luxury tax, the CBT. I think there was a $95K difference in what the players and what the owners wanted, which to, the owners, pennies on the dollar. It's practically nothing compared to what their teams make in revenue and what the owners make in general. And then lastly is the most important part is the CBA itself, collective bargaining agreement. And I think that's an 85 mil difference. Not 85 mil, 85K, which again, pennies on the dollar. Owners have no interest in adjusting it, essentially. And the same goes for the CBT, the tax.
They went up 5,000. It's bro.
There's no reason. No reason why they
is a
can't.
good amount of money to the regular person, but even the regular person knows that's pocket change.
Yeah, come on now.
You can come into $5,000.
That's half of the stimulus check total that regular people were getting for 2 years, basically. That's nothing. Nothing.
Gotta do better.
And I mean, baseball fans heard Manfred speak. What was that? Yesterday morning or yesterday afternoon?
With a smile on his face,
saying that.
You remember that? So please tell me you remember that video when George Bush was talking and then somebody do the slipper at him.
How
Like
could
I was
forget
hoping somebody
George
did
Bush?
that to Manfred.
Oh my God.
You lie. And
You lie. Throw a chocolate at him or
oh
something like
my
that, bro.
God.
Oh
Biggest
man,
smile on his face.
if there was
Biggest
anybody who
smile.
deserved to be called out, like for their just mishandling of this, is Rob Manfred.
It's
We
not
talked about this
him.
earlier too.
Stop
I know.
blaming him.
No. It's not that we can't blame Rob Man. We absolutely can blame
You
Rob Manfred
can.
because he's literally not improving the game. You
He's
can't
not.
blame him for being at the meetings. Yes, but you can blame him for not helping both sides. With as Commissioner of Baseball,
Never.
you have to oversee the entirety of baseball.
No,
You're on the side of the owners, like you said. Yes.
You
But
work
you
for
have
the
to
owners. You don't make the sport
You
better.
have to oversee the entire thing.
Yeah, bro.
What are you doing as a commissioner of
No.
baseball? You're basically the head owner.
No. In
Go
theory,
ahead.
you're supposed to make the game better.
Yes.
But on paper, you are the commissioner. You work for the owners. You do what they say. They don't care if the league, the sport is looking great to the public. No. How much money can you make me?
Well, hold on. As an owner, and basically as commissioner, you have to oversee the entertainment aspect of the game as well, because that's what like sports kind of chalks down to, especially in this country. At the end of the day, it's all entertainment. Is my sport entertaining or not? I mean, a lot of people argue about baseball not being entertaining or not. It depends how, big of a fan you are at this point, who it caters to, blah, blah, blah. But I would absolutely argue that the commissioner still has to make sure that the game is worthwhile. Like, to not just every fan, but to everybody who has to endure the game of baseball, whether you live in a city with a baseball team, whether, you work for a team like that, you have no interest in baseball, maybe not. But any involvement in the game, there's got to be some aspect of the game that's keeping you there. The commissioner still has to have some input in all of that. And I think that's where a lot of baseball fans get pissed at him, is that he has made no progress in making the game itself more entertaining, which he promised. I
think people forget a big thing. Rob Manfred doesn't care about baseball. Rob Manfred is the commissioner of baseball because
people
he's
know
a master.
People
at
know
bargaining. That's what he grew up as. Not grew up. That's what his career was before he joined baseball. He was one of those lawyers that bargained collective bargaining agreements. That's why the owner said, let's get this guy on board, because if we ever have another CBA disagreement or a strike or anything, he can get us more money. But then people didn't realize he hurt the sport, because Rob Manfred is, from you looking at the commissioner's trophy and going, it's just a piece of metal. What? Are you?
But it makes sense for someone. If that's the thing, that's the difference between, of course, like we know, the owners and the commissioner, and like the players. Players are fighting for their life to go get that trophy. The owners just see it as like, okay, this is the end to like a means of us putting money into like this investment. And the commissioner, who's working with the owners, is saying, yeah, you guys are fighting for this piece of metal. It's not that he shouldn't have said that. He literally should not have called it just a piece of metal. You're overseeing the sport of baseball. I know, you got to hand it to I'm handing you this piece of metal because you did something good at the end of the season. No, you won the World Series. Like, this is the hardest thing to do in possibly all of sports. You got to endure an 162 game season. Most players don't even last this long in 162 games. For you to reach the pinnacle and have to meet the commissioner basically at the end of the season and win that trophy, the commissioner's got to be, he's got to practically worship you when he's handing you that trophy, because you worked your tail off from beginning to end for as long as you played. And he gives no recognition to that. I mean, people chalk up that 2020 Dodgers series where he was like a little out of it. And like drunk. To this day, I have no idea. People were saying he was like sick, he was drunk. I don't know what, like the presentation was just off. But he was standing there mumbling. He was like,
I thought he was having a stroke. I thought he was having a stroke.
Again, Commissioner of Baseball, it's easy to say me and you, we're not fans, obviously, of the way he's handling the sport in general, the way, I guess, even the sport has been played the last 3 years. I mean, the COVID season, which we brought up in the beginning, was a mess because, well, one, COVID itself, and then two, Rob Manfred didn't have a system set in place to say, okay, we can still play our sport. Goodell met with the Players Association and the owners and said, we have time, obviously, because it was at the end of the year, to set up what our football schedule is going to look like. And while baseball had less time to prepare for that, you look at like basketball in the middle of their season, Silver, the Player Association, and the owners were able to still find a deadline, a playoff scenario, a bubble scenario. Baseball, again, a lot harder. You're playing a shortened season, but it was a lot more organized. Like just the generalness of it is a lot more organized.
Even down to the whole playoffs of MLB playoffs, where they told them 2 weeks before the playoffs started, oh, you guys have to quarantine for 10 days.
Yeah.
They're like, what? And you're playing your playoffs on the West Coast. Tell your family to quarantine, to come with you. What? We have kids in school. Well, either they stay home or you're coming with us. And it's like, what? So like, even down to that, where you had the whole 60-game season to figure it out, you wait till the last 2 weeks to say, well, we're going to Texas and we're going to LA, and you're quarantining for 2 weeks.
If we look at the timeline of where this has happened so far, the league's been locked out since December 1st. That was the end of the last CBA from 2017, I think, right? They do like every 4 or 5 years.
So I think it's 4 years.
By the time you hear this episode, it'll be over 90 days since the MLB's been locked out. They had a first deadline on February 27th, last Sunday. And we were talking about this earlier. Bob Nightingale was literally on the scene reporting every little instance that was happening. I finally had to refollow him on Twitter and turn on post notifications just to see, all right, it's 1:30 in the morning. Have they agreed on anything? Oh, they agreed on a 12-team playoff expansion, even though the players didn't want that. Okay, they worked to eliminate draft compensation. Okay, that's something new. Is baseball going to start? I fell asleep. I woke up the next morning. Nothing was met. But that's the first time when Manfred decided, okay, we're going down, and now we're going to have like a larger scale meeting. We're going to bring the mediators in, and we're going to set a second deadline of March 1st, which was Tuesday. Apparently the meetings went like a lot worse because at that point the owners had said, we're not budging. And the players were really, really pushing for obviously more money. There are also some rumblings about like eliminating the shift and whether or not to use pitch timers and a couple other things. Those are the main two I know that like came out of from at least what Nightingale was talking about and that I've seen in a few articles. I don't mind the eliminating shifts part, but I also don't think it worsens the game of baseball to have them. Like, it's tough to say. It's caught for me in between these 2 points where baseball has been trying to fix. Is one, make the game entertaining, which you can't do if there's a shift because, some players are just going to hit in the shift and be automatic out. Or two, make the game faster, I guess. And if you have the shift in play, that gets people out faster, makes the game faster. A game doesn't have to be 3 hours long. Again, depends on the team still even. And
so,
yeah.
We talked about this, bro. Baseball, people are only complaining about the length of the game because it's a slow game right now.
Oh, it's a slow paced game,
8 hours long. If it's high pace, a lot of action, people will love it. So when people say, oh man, baseball, the games are so boring. One, you don't understand the game. Because if you understand baseball, you understand baseball is extremely fun. So for the people that are saying that understand
granted,
the game,
we also did play baseball for a long time.
No, but I'm saying
we have an
understand baseball, love baseball.
Yeah,
so
okay.
I've never heard of anybody that really understands the game of baseball that goes, oh, this game is trash. Like, no, I've never heard it before. And if they ever said
nah. So big time. big time.
So
Nobody who knows baseball thinks that. Yeah,
exactly. So the issue isn't that baseball is the games are long, because we've seen them 4.5 hour Yankees Red Sox games that are 11-10
all the time.
And you're like, yo, this game is amazing. No one ever complains. The issue is those 4.5 hour games is 2-1. What took so long to get 2 runs? Wait, 2 runs, 5 hits, 3 errors, and it took 4.5 hours.
It doesn't make sense until you actually see a game that is 4 hours that did finish 2-1, and it's usually like those Brewers, Cubs, Reds, like Cubs, Tigers, like Twins, like middle teams that just are like have no offense, have like minor pitching or whatever, and nothing's happening during the game, and it's just dragging and dragging and dragging. Like every inning just feels like a lifetime. And
I don't know anybody who looks at Yankees Red Sox and goes, man, 4.5 hours into the game, man, this game is taking too long. No, it doesn't matter what the score is.
Nah.
Yankees Red Sox, if it's Yankees Red Sox and it's a rivalry game, not like one of those random 2017 games where nobody cared. I'm talking about like 2018 Yankees Red Sox, 2019 Yankees Red Sox, where like both teams were good, and you're like, yo, you really gotta like pay attention. Like no one ever said these games are boring. They might take long, but people are gonna be like, yo, oh, man, that game was good. 2-1. It's the games. It's just so many games that don't match that criteria. Yeah. Yankees Orioles should not take more than 2 hours and 50 minutes. Somebody needs to win the game.
Yeah,
somebody.
Yeah,
that's my issue.
I put that on the Yankees sometimes though, because they're the ones who have the lead till the 8th inning and then blow it against the Orioles, and that extends the game to extra innings. I mean, but if you look at the MLB as a whole, they've been trying to cut down on like the timing of the game. Pitching clocks don't work. I think they've been implemented for the last 2-3 years. I see them on the stadium
in
sometimes.
The minor. Like it's in the majors, but
it's in the majors. They don't enforce it. Yeah. They just it's pointless. In the minors, they really enforce it.
I think they do, because a lot of the minor league, like you said, the rules, they're just guinea pigs for all the stuff that they want to use. Like, I think they're still going to hold on to the runner on second in the minors just because it's like, yo, these games don't really matter. Like, you know, they're doing like you said, robo umps that pitch right down the middle was called the ball a couple times. It's like they're not enforcing any of that stuff in the majors because it would never work.
That's just funny. That's silly. And again, the eliminating shifts part is part of that. It could make the game faster or slower depending on, you know, what's happening, but it also affects, you know, the outcome and the overall like impact of like what's happening in the game. At the same time, you have to not expect baseball players to all adjust to the shift and just say, oh, hit it the other way. That does not happen in baseball.
No,
it doesn't happen. Oh, Joey Gallo laid down a bunt down the third base line one time because he knew, okay, I know I'm not going to hit it to the left side. I'm 2 for my last 21 in my last at-bats. Let me just get on base. What did it amount to? Nothing. Because the players behind him into a double play. He didn't even score a run. Again, there's aspects of the game that, yes, it could be improved upon. You can make the game more exciting. It's at its core, baseball is based off of hits, runs, and strikeouts. That's it. That is it for baseball. Home runs are the largest factor and contributor to all of those aspects. And yes, they make the game more exciting. If you want more home runs, bring in those balls that have extra tight wounding again and just let them fly off the bat like a beach ball.
Another Rob Manfred thing. They admitted it. They would send
in the postseason.
Not even so much that they would send the super wound up baseballs to Yankees Red Sox or every nationally televised game, so that it'd be like, that's why Stanton was hitting 7,000 mile an hour.
What was the scores of the England game where it was like,
oh no, that was 14, I think that was the stadium. It was like a bandbox, like that stadium, like
it was a soccer field. Yeah.
Everything that was hit would just hit the jet stream and go. I think it was like 20 to 17 both games.
They put up like ridiculous. 19 runs. It was insane. Again, and I think, you know, I mentioned this before, and I think we both believe this, that at the heart of this lockout there's a lot of players that are just fighting for younger players to get their money's worth. And we've heard a lot of stories. There's been a lot of people on Twitter, like former minor leaguers and even low-level major league players who have told their story, have given their experience about making next to nothing, having to literally fend for themselves in a $1 billion, organized like a $1 billion league, and they essentially get nothing out of it. They're basically asking, put more money into these younger players and you get better generational talent. You get better training. You get better performance at lower levels. You probably get players sticking with teams for longer times because they build relationships and trust with a certain organization. It's the hard end of the. What was that?
What was that tweet? That tweet that we were talking about earlier was like, was it Steven Wilson? He was like, "Hey Brian, I signed for $5,000 in 2018, made $5,000 in 2019, less than 10 in 2020, and about 18,000 in AAA in 2021." And he just got added to the 40 man. So of course now he's locked out. I don't think the minor leaguers are locked out.
No.
So now he's locked out. So he's like, so I have to drive Uber just to make money. And it's like, yo, I don't think they're realizing that, like, one, you chose to be an owner of a major league team. Mm-hmm. No one forced you to buy that team. The only person that was forced is Hal. Everybody else went out of their way to buy their team.
A generational curse where they have secret meetings in cloaks and torches underneath the old Yankee Stadium.
Exactly.
And they initiate the next Steinbrenner to own the team. That's how Yankees teams work. Every other team is up for grabs.
Was forced because his father died, and they say, "Hey, man, he gave it to you."
The throne is open.
He could have sold the team, but he didn't. He's not stupid enough to sell the Yankees. He makes too much money.
He wouldn't have done that. He wouldn't have done
so
that.
It's like,
especially now. Yeah,
exactly. So now you're looking at it, you're like, yo, he's making this money, and just imagine the people working at whatever the chicken bucket and fries spot is at Yankee Stadium.
You mean like the best food in the Bronx? The best bang for your buck? Nah.
Oh my God, they're not making any money. So you have to use more wisdom than that, man. They're only thinking about the major league roster where it's like, oh, you guys are making millions. It's billionaires against millionaires. What about the guy that made $18,000 after playing 100 game season? 100 games for only $18,000. That's less than $1,000. That's less than 200, almost like less than 200 a game.
Yeah.
That's like almost less than 100.
180.
Almost
180. 100 games, 18K.
No, what I'm saying, like, no, because okay, so I said average.
Average.
I'm talking about like days that you have to be there.
Oh yeah.
It's 100 games, but there's practices, there's all that stuff. Your days off, you still gotta come and do BP.
Okay.
So it's less than that. So I'm like, it's almost less than $100 a day. Yeah. So it's like, bro, these people aren't making money.
Major League Baseball player makes less than $100 a day. That's unheard of.
And he just got added to the 40. So maybe some of the minor leaguers are getting paid right now. They're $20 because that was in AAA where he made 18,000.
By who?
When he only made 10. When he only made 10,000, that guy was not 10,000 in 2019. That was a full year.
Yeah,
February 15th to November 4th. Like that was a full year.
That's
and he
sick.
Probably made $28 a day. Like, bro, think about that. Think about that,
bro. Oh my God. I it's not that, people can resonate to that story. And I think a lot of people take it out of context when the owners say, oh, this is millionaires versus billionaires. What percentage even of those MLB players are even at that millionaire level even? Because you look at players that have to play in like California and Texas, or not even Texas actually, but mostly Cali and like New York, who get absolutely flatlined by like taxes and other non-baseball essential bills. Living in New York, living in California on top of that, bro.
Imagine living in California where it's like $8 a gallon for gas. I wouldn't even drive to the park. I would
You gotta
ride
take
my
an
bike.
Uber to the park.
I wouldn't even Uber. I would feel bad for the Uber driver. I
No, you
would
can't
ride
Uber.
my
You
bike.
seen the traffic in Cali?
Yep,
Oh
I
my
would
God.
ride my bike because that Uber is going to spend more money driving me than he's going to get from the Uber.
You
Absolutely
wanna
not.
you playing in a $1 billion organization, and you basically traveling like year one Giannis to the Milwaukee
Imagine.
Bucks facility, and other people carpooling on a bike. Like, that's crazy. Insane.
It's ridiculous.
Hey, stick up for the little man. I was gonna make like a reference to the labor, what's it called, from like the early 20s, like stick up for the little guy in Major League Baseball, like the little millionaires out there, the little thousandaires. And like the reality of it is, yeah, I mean, maybe most of them will be fine. And I think there's a lot of MLB players who are millionaires who are looking out for those little guys, at least right now. But it's like, you just gotta think about them, like, bro, they're the ones struggling right now. Like, there's no other way that this lockout is hurting anybody more than everybody at the bottom. Everybody at the bottom right now.
You think Max Scherzer is gonna care missing 10 games?
I mean, he's not getting paid. He's one of the highest paid baseball players at this point anyway. So, like, maybe not, but he definitely cares missing the first two series. I'm saying,
like, he cares a lot less than I would, being a fringe.
Well, yeah.
Like, and like,
MLB, that's the thing. It's like he has like savings, he has funds. Absolutely, he has like assets that he can rely on at the bare minimum. But yeah,
what I was getting to was that he's one of the main people. Like, he knows that it hurts them at the bottom, so he's fighting. Yeah, like, so it's he's like been with the players. He's not fighting for himself. He doesn't care. Like, he cares, of course. Everybody wants to make as much money as possible,
of course.
But him missing out on $3 million compared to like someone only making 20,000 missing out on 5 of that, like, bro, $15,000 is not livable. Like, if especially someone who would have to be on their own.
Bad. It's just bad, bro.
Yeah, nah, not a fan.
And then as fans, the fans are just heated at this point, bro. Like, they're missing out on their favorite sport, on the most, from their perspective, the most minuscule things. Like, you can't just push back and say we're not going to move on this point. All the fans are saying, just go give the players what their demands are. It's the owners acting like they're being held hostage. The fans are telling them, you are. Just give them what they want. We want baseball. I don't care what's happening to you. I mean, listen, rightfully so. It's not like they can't access that. They don't have accessibility to all that anyway.
Here's the last thing I'm gonna say on this.
Yeah,
MLB wants to be NFL and NBA so badly because they're looking at those teams and going, oh, they only have a certain amount of payroll and it's a hard cap. Why can't we do the same? No. The NBA has 15 players on their roster. 15. That's it. NFL, they're just a bunch of idiots because how you have like what's the payroll for an NFL team? Like 250 for 85 people. Like, you're just being stupid at that point. That makes no sense. Isn't it like 250?
Something like that. Yeah, it might be a little higher, I think, this year. Because they actually didn't they bargain the NFL
208. It's actually 208 million.
That's wow. Okay, that's real low.
So that's what I'm saying. They're just being a bunch of idiots but even that, like, you have 84 players, 53 dress.
Regularly, and it's to go play games.
53 dress, so you're only paying the 53 of them. The practice squad probably gets chump change, and I don't think that counts towards the salary cap. And then they're a bunch of idiots because they paid a quarterback like 35 mil. So, like, stuff like that. That's another thing we could talk about. But like MLB wants to be like NFL so badly. It's like, oh, they're doing it. Their salary cap's only 208 million. Yeah, because they get hurt every day. They only got 16 games. So
Yeah.
it's fine if they're only making 500,000 a year. But if I got to play 162, and especially if I'm a rookie in the league and I'm nasty like Vladdy is probably making like 600,000, and you're gonna look him in the face and say, "We're not gonna give you a cent more until we have to." And then it goes into the whole arbitration thing where it's like, "Oh, let's go into arbitration," and then you're in arbitration, and you're gonna look at Vlad and go, "Well, your strikeout percentage was 10%. We're not gonna pay you anything more." I hit
the
50
league
home
average,
runs and I had
blah, blah,
120
blah.
RBIs. Pay me my money. No, you didn't walk enough for our liking. Like, I saved our season 8 times. You don't get to look me in the face and tell me that I wasn't good enough. Like, I think arbitration is the dumbest thing, but we're not gonna get into that. But I just think it's dumb because you're looking at your
that could
player.
be a whole nother episode.
You're looking at your player and telling him you suck.
Yeah.
Even though you saved our season, we don't want to pay you the extra $2 million because you suck.
Yeah, it's that. I was even gonna say, like, on a lesser scale, not even that you suck, but that you're average. Yeah. Like you deserve the average amount of money. You were an exceptional player, but we're gonna pay you on the average.
Yeah,
instead.
Because we found 3 to 5 things that we're gonna nitpick on. Your on base percentage was 450, but you walked all those times and you walked in front of a guy that didn't really do anything. So like you didn't really contribute.
The pitchers you face are giving up most of your home runs. Yeah, like
exactly.
Come on now. Dude, it's bad. It's so bad. If we were gonna end on a note, just again, it would be pay the little guy. God, come to an agreement tomorrow. Like, how hard at this point do you really have to push back on it? There's no point really, because if you end up canceling like a month's worth of games, this season is like a 1/7 of the way lost. That's a lot. Yeah. Like you're costing probably like all-star stuff. Most of the postseason is already like what's going to happen now because you're canceling 30 games nearly. It's come on now.
I think
you can't take that much out of the season.
I think they said they're going to meet again tomorrow.
Yeah.
So what I'm thinking is if they meet tomorrow and if it's done, like they get it done, they'll probably cancel the first week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. They already canceled the first week. They'll probably so they'll probably cancel the next week after that, just so that pitchers and catchers and everybody can get their full spring training.
Haven't yet. Yeah.
But if they do that, I think we'll still play. We can still somehow get 162 if they schedule double headers.
I think
harder.
They already said they're not going to make up the games that they've already missed from this first week. So the season's like already like cut, like no double headers, no makeups.
No. That's dumb.
I know.
They can't do that because you're just going to make it that you can't. Like, what if in division games? Like, no, they're going to have to make those up, or they're going to have to realign the schedule. They're going to have.
Yeah, it's a major schedule realignment, and I think you literally play. So they play what 19 divisional games.
You're supposed to play 19 divisional games every year, each time, each team.
Yeah, they'll probably cut down on those, considering like the Yankees had one divisional matchup already in the first week, I think. Mm-hmm. Maybe not actually in the second week, but even still, like at this point, you've got to wonder, like, you know, how much more can we really take away from this season? Like, specifically the owners are being asked that question. On top of that, losing basically all of spring training and then going right into the season, God forbid they go into 162 games because you'll get players getting hurt every single day.
I don't know.
Condition wise.
I think if they go to if they still push for 162, they would have to increase the roster. It would have to be, you know how it's at 26 right now? It would have to go to like 30 just for this year.
Like a playoff size anyway.
Yeah.
Like right before the playoff. It's like 40, right?
No, they cut that. They cut that this past year. They were like, nah, 26.
Jesus.
You're done. You're done for.
They've got to bring they should bring it back if they do that this year then.
But then just like as usual, people go into the ballpark in September trying to watch their best players, and Aaron Judge isn't in the game because they need to get some random fringe AAA guy into the game, and it's just like, who's number 82? No one cares about that guy. Put in Aaron Judge.
Shout out to all the 82 jerseys that we had last year, bro. It was a lot of them. Chris Gittins, I think, playing first base.
It was like some random numbers. Like, nah, bro, nobody cares about that guy, bro. Like, granted, love Chris Gittins. I was hoping that he went out for 30 home runs like he did in the minors. It was never gonna happen. But like, you have people like that. So that's why they took it away, because a lot of the fans were complaining. Like, I came to see Judge, and Judge got 2 off days in a row because the Yankees are comfortable. No, I need to see Aaron Judge play baseball. So yeah, I don't know, but I'm not the biggest fan of everything that's going on right now.
I can say the same, and not only can we say the same, but literally every baseball fan everywhere is wondering, what is the next step? Like, why isn't baseball happening right now? Pitchers and catchers should have been down there. Players should be getting ready, should be conditioning, should be getting ready for the first few games of spring training already. It's underway at this point.
They would have been in the second week of games.
I think the first, because it started like Saturday, like the first set of games, 26, 27, something like that.
I thought it would have started before. Oh, because they only reported on the 15th.
Yeah. Then they didn't need the week to condition, things like that. Should be underway. We're missing out on a lot of good baseball right now, or a lot of developing baseball, at least if you don't consider it good. But baseball got to come back this year. That's like the driving point behind all this. Thursday, it's got to be the last time. It's got to be the last meeting. It's got to be.
What is the minimum amount of games that you would accept every year?
I'm not opposed to less than 162, because I just know how grueling it is. I just wouldn't want the players and their salaries affected by it. I want them to get the same amount of money for playing if they played 150, 140 games. I don't think that would, make a difference to me.
I wouldn't mind going back to 154. Like how they used to have it way back in the day. I wouldn't mind that.
Okay.
But like you said, salaries got to stay the same.
Yeah. Because what happens is, then they cut down on, who makes what at that point.
Even so much that, because the second you tell an MLB owner, hey, you lost 3 home games or 4, they're going to be like, ticket prices. They're going to jack up the ticket prices like they lost every home game. Mm-hmm. And they'll be like, okay, now we're going to charge you an extra $40 to come to the game. And it's like, bro, come on.
They're going to find any way to make all that money back.
And Yankees tickets aren't as expensive as I once thought. It's not like going to the Garden.
No, it's not.
But bro, you cannot jack up the ticket prices $30 because you lost 4 home games. Yeah.
It would be brutal. Again, we're gonna keep hammering this point, is that the last meeting has to be tomorrow. Baseball's got to come back, and if the season is shortened, it's shortened. Make sure the players are getting their money. I think that's the end all be all of what the fans want, what the players want. The owners, they gave what they said and what they want, but now they've got to listen to what everybody else wants. Yep. It's the only way the game's going to improve at this point forward. Episode 30, DROD Shaniac Sports Podcast.
That's it.
Follow us on Podbean, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Spotify. I'm missing one. Apple Podcast. Did I? Yeah. Follow us on Twitter, DROD and Shaniac Sports Pod. It's on the bottom there. Keep watching our YouTube stuff coming up. So NBA still rolling out right now. If you're following the Knicks, don't. If you're following the Nets, KD comes back.
KD
should be real fun. Simmons is I think week to week they said still.
No. He's scared. He's scared of playing the Sixers on March 10th.
Oh shit! Come on. That's the game he's got to come back for. He's got to be there. He's got to hit his first 3-pointer. We already said it. He's going to hit his first 3-pointer.
He was in practice having a good time. And then and of course, all of a sudden last week, back, because he was saying, I want to come back to the 10th. And then he's in practice having a good time. All of a sudden his back hurt now. Nah, bro. Watch. The day after they play the Sixers, you're going to hear, Ben Simmons' rehab is coming along well. He'll be back in a week. Nah, bro. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
He's gonna be all right. He's gonna be back for that game. I know he has to be.
No, he's not. They already said he's not playing until like.
He has to be back for the Philly game.
That's next week.
Oh, that's next week.
Next week.
That's next Thursday. No, he's got to be back next week. He's got to be.
There's no way.
If it's a week to week, he's got to be back next week. He's gonna practice tomorrow with KD, and he's gonna come back next week. Bro, he has to. He's
not, bro. I'm not even expecting it.
That'd be so sick if he's not there. I'd be so sick. I don't even know, bro. Hey, keep checking us out. We are gonna be on Instagram. Check us out there. Same app. You'll see the same type of content, but obviously, it's Instagram. Like it, share it, bring it amongst your groups, comment on it, get us to the Explore page. Got to get our numbers up. So follow us on there at DROD and Shaniac Sports Pod there too. And tune in next week. Next week episode, we'll probably have a better update. Hopefully baseball will be back by then. Basketball will still be looking good right now. Football's in its off season. Not too much news coming from it yet. New quarterbacks on the move. You never know. I heard Trubisky moving around. I don't think the Giants are in that mix, unfortunately.
Nah, the Giants got to do it. They got to do it.
They got to complete the trifecta. That's the last infinity stone that they got to get on their team. I don't know, man. I don't know. Hey, check us out. Peace.
Later.